Hey guys, I am Ibigandscary and bringing you another StarCraft 2 replay. This is Game 2 featuring Shadowslayer in our top right corner, playing our red Protoss, and in the bottom left we have DarrenC, our blue Zerg. If you can hear rumbling in the background, that's my roommate's dog, the bane of my existence. As is DarrenC, the bane of Shadowslayer's existence. We saw in Game 1, Darren was actually playing Protoss, and he threw down an excellently timed 4-gate. Didn't really crush Shadowslayer, but he definitely took him to the House of Pain. Shadowslayer did a fantastic job at trying to hold that door, trying to throw down a couple of force fields, chrono boost out the Immortal so that he could put together some sort of defense against that well-timed offense from Darren. But in the end, he just fell. Darren is actually in Masters, Shadowslayer is in Diamond, and that's the sort of mismatch that you can expect whenever you are part of the Game-FAQS tourney. It's really all walks of life, all levels of skill. So, you know, that's the sort of matchup. And the best thing about Protoss is, even though Shadowslayer had a deficit in supposed skill ability, he held his own. I feel like he did a really good job, all things considered, and I'm looking forward to this game. Darren switching it up, going with Zerg instead of Protoss. I'd be interested to know if he decided to do random for this matchup, or if this was a specific exchange, seeing the build order that Shadowslayer went for last time, seeing that early robotics facility. Maybe he wants to get the Zerg out to do some early aggression. No super early aggression coming out of Darren. We see the 15 pool going down. So a little bit more conservative, all things considered. He's going to get those Zerglings out before he gets a expansion, because he'll want to take down that pylon on the low ground. Just so you guys know, and that I cover all my bases, we are on Cloud Kingdom, and I think this is like an MLG variety, because you have the supply depot on the low ground to prevent those shenanigans from the pylons where you wall off that expansion. Shadowslayer has a probe on the low ground, only 200 minerals saved up, but he's past that 100 mineral mark, so it's not like he's going to throw down a pylon. Pretty ballsy, considering that he doesn't even have the gateway up yet. And the pool is completely finished, and 4 Zerglings are on the way. So that Nexus, if it goes down, and I mean, what he's going to do is he's going to throw down a Nexus, scattered by the Overlord. So he's got to know that these Zerglings are on the way. Have they popped? They have popped. So 4 Zerglings are going to be moving down with that Queen. The probe has to pull back because he doesn't want to get eaten up by those Zerglings. The Nexus does drop enough money for that probe to drop that pylon. I don't know if he's going to have enough money to throw up a wall that's Zergling tight. It's only 4 Zerglings right now. They're moving out towards the main base. They'll pop a couple seconds. He's got enough money. He'll probably drop 1 or 2 main buildings, maybe have enough to throw a pylon up on the top ground, and then use the Zealot to complete it. But it will be tight. Wow, look at these guys. They're already at the ramp. He's got 100 minerals though, so it will that will be a good wall off. That Zealot will be able to hold that door pretty much 1-to-1 against those Zerglings, no problem at all. Forge taking a little bit of damage, but really what he wants to do is kite the Zealot away from the door so that he can sneak through. That is, he succeeds in doing it. These Zealots will make it up into the main base, see that there is no gas at all. So even though that Cybernetics core is going to finish unaccosted by the Zerglings, he's not going to have any gas to get that higher tech up. So any aggression coming out of Shadowslayer is going to be delayed. We can see a hatchery is being built by DarrenC just because he knows that that aggression is going to be delayed. Has he killed any? No, he has not. No workers killed on either side. Just a couple of Zealots, Zerglings going down. 1 probe going down. I think that was a probe. No, there's a probe right there. None. 1 worker's killed. Hey, there we go. All the Zealots have gone down, or all the Zerglings have gone down though. So resources lost, not really the biggest thing in the world. 2 gas done completely. So hopefully Shadowslayer will jump up on top of that gas production. Got a photon cannon down by the front door, so that wall is looking incredibly powerful right now. Getting another gas, so 3 gas play out of Shadowslayer. Hopefully we're going to see some robotics facilities dropping soon, so he can dump that gas. But you never know. It could be a Stargate. It could be 19 gate. I don't know. We'll see. We will see. Still no gas out of Darren, though. I expect we're going to see a lot in short order. That's a hell of a lot of drones starting to be transferred out right now. Probably down to the 3rd because the saturation down at the natural is looking good. No gas at the natural either. So 4 gas total for Shadowslayer. I wonder what type of build he's going to be following. He's got a handful of Zealots moving down to that 3rd, but they have to be very careful. Only 4 Zerglings protecting that third right now, but there is a queen there, so she'll be able to do quite a lot of damage to them while they eat up the zealots. Another round of Zerglings and 4 more on the way, and we can see the gas is beginning to be grabbed. 2 gas down at the natural. A lot of Zerglings holding off. I don't think these zealots are going to be able to do any damage. That's twice as many Zerglings as he really needs to take down all of these zealots. Even though the level 1 has been started, it's not done yet, and there is no warp gate tech finished, so there's no chance of reinforcements for those zealots. They do go down. Quite a lot of Zerglings left over to go back to the front door and kind of pester there, but that single sentry out with enough energy for a force field will buy plenty of time for that photon cannon to take out any ground units there. Robotics facility has started and almost done, actually, and 3 more gate to reinforce. Warp gate is about halfway done, and we can see that there's 2 more gas being grabbed by Darren back at the natural, so quite a lot of gas coming out of him. Hopefully he's going to be working for that higher tech. We can expect a Spire if we see these gas being grabbed. Otherwise, maybe a Roach Baneling bust, or maybe he's just going to be macroing up, grabbing a 4th. I don't know. We will see. We will see. Another photon cannon being built, another sentry reinforcing that area. Warp gate tech very close to being finished. An excellent scout out of Darren, just suiciding that Overlord in. But in reality, the sentry is the only thing that's going to hit it. So this Overlord will see all, know all, and probably have enough time to finish Chaucer before he's taken down by that sentry. Quite a lot of gas being saved up, actually. 500 gas total. So I wonder what he's going to spend all this gas for. Maybe another forge will be dropped down for more upgrades. Maybe we'll see a starport. I don't know. Quite a lot of Zerglings, though, being built. Metabolic boost will finish, so the map control will be firmly in Darren's hand. He does have a couple of spines out, just in case Shadowslayer gets frisky. But I don't think we're going to see any aggression out of Shadowslayer anytime soon. He's probably going to tech higher than what he's got out right now. Probably another robotics facility eventually. He's getting charged right now, which signals to me that the build he's going to go for is pretty apparent right here, actually. Zealots in the front, sentries in the back, and then an Immortal just skirting around the sides to do a ridiculous amount of damage. This is a pretty common build right now, very powerful, especially against ground-based lower tier Zerg. Sentries can do a fantastic job at controlling the ground, especially if they've been out for a very long time. Look at all that green on their energy. These guys have just been worked in, but provided that Shadowslayer doesn't move out anytime soon, he's going to have a ridiculous amount of energy for a ridiculous amount of force fields. And then he can dump all the excess minerals into the Zealots. Problem with this is that there is no anti-air, and if we see a Spire being dropped out of DarrenC, Shadowslayer is going to have to rethink the composition that he has right now. Probably going to have to work in more Stalkers, but that's going to bite, because that's a lot of gas that he can't spend, and a lot of energy that he's not going to have for force fields and ground control, which is pretty much what the build relies upon. An Infestor Pit going down for DarrenC, though, so he's going to have to blow a lot of his excess gas into that. He's got just a little bit of gas saved up, but the Pathogen Glands is just now getting started. Probably going to see a huge swell of Infestors in short order. The gas has been grabbed down at the third, though, so his income for gas, all things considered, is going to be sky high. Which will allow him to tech higher into that air-based play, which is probably... it's just so effective against this. You get a couple mutas. This is such a slow build because those sentries are very slow, and there's really no answer back for the handful of mutas that make it into your expansion. Yeah. And it's very vulnerable to that air-based play. And really, that's what Zerg wants. Zerg wants that greater Spire up. He wants those Broodlords. He wants to control the sky. Though I think with Darren being mostly ground-based, mostly Zerglings, and 5 Infestors on the way with a handful of Roaches spattered in, I think Shadowslayer will take the advantage in any earlier engagement. The Immortals are going to be more than a match for the Roaches, and then Sentries more than a match for Zerglings. This Nexus being built, though, has probably been scouted already. A handful of Zerglings already moving up to Darren. This could be just good game sense out of him, though. Hitting that Nexus with the Zerglings, some quick reaction out of Shadowslayer, but not fast enough to save the Nexus. It's definitely going to go down. It gets canceled. Good reaction from Shadowslayer, joined by a Colossus, which is a fantastic decision as Darren relies more on Zergling Infestor and less on Zergling Roaches. The Colossi is going to be able to do quite a lot of damage, especially with that Thermal Lance finishing. Level 2 already done. Level 3 weapons on the way for Protoss, so that's going to be incredibly intimidating. 2 armor, level 1 range being built. He's gotten level 1 melee, unless I am mistaken. He does. He's got 1-1, but then 2-1 will be finishing for the roaches shortly. So upgrades are kind of all over the place. I don't know if he's expecting to... Oh, maybe that's an upgrade for the infested Terran. Or maybe he's just going to double down on the roach production, like a roach infester. I don't know. With the Colossi out, though, the Immortals production will be kind of faltering, so those roaches will be kind of handy. Hey, a Spire being built as well as a Stargate. Stargate being built for Shadowslayer so he can control the sky. Really good Overlord placement out of Darren. And then he's also grabbing that 4th. So the production, especially the gas production, is going to be kicking into full swing. Both players are approaching max. Both players are going to be wanting to start trading armies so that they can get out the unit composition they want. 2 macro hatches for Darren, so he's definitely prepared to trade armies and replace his units very quickly. Hive on the way. That Spire is going to warp most immediately into a greater Spire, I assume, because the gas income, once that 4th base is up, is going to be clearing 1k, and that is going to allow Darren to get out quite a lot of units, especially as he's over at 200 supply. And 50 Zerglings on the way. That's intimidating. 7 Corruptors coming out. Those Corruptors are going to chew up the Colossi. But hopefully we'll see that greater Spire so that we can see a bunch of Broodlords out of that too. A 4th Colossi. And that's what I'm saying. Those Corruptors are going to be able to just absolutely maul the Colossi, because 7... the base damage for sentries is 7. 9 with that +3. And that does absolutely nothing against the Corruptors who have armor. Ooh, Fleet Beacon on the way for Shadowslayer, so maybe a tech switch, or maybe that's just for a mothership. I don't know. Yeah, there is a handful of Stalkers in this, but that's not nearly enough to take down the Corruptors. Definitely not enough to take them down before the Colossi fall. So Shadowslayer's got to be very careful with this unit composition. He is almost maxed, but I would hope that he warps in the next round as just pure Stalkers, because that anti-air is what he needs. Keep an eye out on those Corruptors. They're coming in, getting an excellent engagement on top of the... Colossi. 2 of them fall almost instantly. The 3rd one going down, all of a sudden there is no AoE damage for Protoss. The Roaches absolutely having a heyday with the ground units. Those Immortals more than paying for themselves. A 4th Colossi making their way in, but having none of these Corruptors having dropped. The 4th Colossi falls also. 200 over 200 supply. Darren at 180. Shadowslayer barely over 100, having to limp home. The wall off at the 3rd is complete. Quite a lot of warp gates, so he's going to be able to replace his army very quickly, and looks like he did with pure Stalkers, so that he has some of that anti-air, but it's coming one moment too late. If he continues with the Colossi production, does he have another robotics facility? He does not, and he's not making anything out of that Stargate, but a mothership is on the way. Where is that being built? Not at the 3rd, I hope. Okay, down at the main. That's good. Actually, an Immortal being mixed in instead of an extra Colossi. That's an interesting choice, probably a very effective choice, because a lot of Roaches are out, and those Colossi are not going to be staying alive for very long with the Corruptors on the field. That mothership's probably not going to stay alive for very long with the Corruptors out on the field, but we can see a Dark Shrine being built, probably for Archons more than DTs, as the as Zerg has an incredible map present right now. Does he have any observers out though? Yeah, he's got 2 of them. He's in good shape. Detection is not going to be an issue for Darren. He's got nice, what is that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5th base down at the bottom right corner, just for pure gas, so that he can get out more Broodlords. Several Corruptors have been morphed into the Broodlords, so the anti-air capabilities for Zerg is not going to be as impressive as you would expect. But Darren's back to 200. Shadowslayer wedging himself into a choke, which is ultimately a really good idea. Really wants to force that engagement there, using some force fields to chop up the Roaches. All of a sudden the Broodlords are not helping, the Corruptors are not helping, and this is the type of engagement that Shadowslayer desperately needs to get himself back in the game. Oh, the good burrow from the Roaches. All of a sudden the Corruptors swinging in from the far side to target down the Colossi. It falls, and the Corruptors get to retreat. The Broodlords finally joining the battle, but the Roach numbers have completely been demolished. There are no Infestors out on the field. 2 Infestors out on the field, but none that remained from that initial battle. Mothership is on to cloak the battle, and the Broodlords have to swing to the far left, but there is no supporting ground army to protect those Broodlords. Has to be very careful. Do the blink, and there is no blink for the Stalkers, so they're not going to be able to close underneath the Broodlords very quickly. Really needs that blink. He also needs a very good force field, or I mean a vortex, so that he can get an Archon toilet coming on. How many Archons does he have out on the field? Just the one. Shadowslayer is in a increasingly desperate position, but Darren does not have a ground army to protect these Broodlords. If he loses all those Broodlords, he's going to be in a lot of trouble. Shadowslayer swinging in from the bottom side on the south, push up into the north, kind of pushing Shadowslayer into the third base. That third base is in a lot of trouble, is probably going to go down. Oh, a clutch vortex, absolutely sucking every single one of those Broodlords in. The ones that didn't get sucked in go down from the concentrated fire from the Stalkers and Archons joining the toilet. As soon as this pops, I expect so many of those Broodlords falling almost instantly. Every single one is gone. All of a sudden, Shadowslayer is back in this game. He's got a very intimidating force. He's kept his third up with a clutch warp in of a DT to target down those Archons, and he's got the unit composition to punish Darren. Darren already re-macroing, though he just doesn't have the number of Broodlords and Corruptors out on the field that he wants. He's got 3 of them on the way. Darren's really got to make something happen, though. He can't afford to sit back on third base because Shadowslayer's just going to out-macro him, and that looks like exactly what he's going to do. Correction. It looks like Darren is making something happen with a Zergling run-by. I would just rely on my own warp-ins. He's got so many warp gates to warp in Zealots to protect this third. This Nexus is not going to go down. It's not going to go down. Those Zealots have successfully aggroed all the Zerglings, and the photon cannons are keeping their attention to get another warp in. So a clutch hold for Shadowslayer. At the same time, Shadowslayer has found the 4th, and he's pushing in there, but that Zergling run-by has bought Darren enough time to get out more anti-air, several Corruptors pushing him to take down the Colossi. The last one falls, the Broodlords just throwing down their Broodlings from a distance, and some really good fungal growths once again demolishes Shadowslayer's base. Oh, the Nexus falls. How did that happen? Okay, what mark? 23:45? We'll go back to the 23-minute mark after this game is done, so we can actually see how that Nexus falls. Oh man, the 3 Archons with Zealots were there. It's clutch play by Darren, just in the middle of that engagement to make that that Nexus fall. All of a sudden, Shadowslayer has a very exposed Nexus, but that's pretty much the only place that's mining. He's only mining off of a handful ones at his natural. His economy is in ruins, and DarrenC is over a K of income in both categories. He's just constantly re-macroing. 100 supply in the lead. Huge Zergling run by finding all these incredibly delicate probes. They're going to go down, and all of a sudden Shadowslayer is looking very, very desperate. And this sort of run-by is really just sacrificial in nature. He's freeing up a bunch of supply. He's taking down a bunch of probes, and he's buying a lot of time for him to get out the time-intensive units like the Broodlords, like the Corruptors. And that Air Force is going to be incredibly intimidating, especially when coupled with the Infestor Roach play. On the bottom, the upgrades are 3-1. in the favor of Darren, I believe. Yeah, 3-1 for Shadowslayer also. So maybe not exactly in the favor of. Neck and neck. It's neck and neck. What's not neck and neck, though, is the 180 to 87 supply. For some reason, the probe's still distance mining. You'd expect them to be mining on the mineral line, but these Archons are pretty much useless without a mothership to throw down a vortex to capture all the Broodlords. I think Darren's just waiting for those Broodlords to pop. They do, and all of a sudden the ponderous Zerg army moves off on the creep highway. Look at that creep spread. What a ridiculous job Darren's doing. This is exactly why he's Masters. He's really doing a good job, but Shadowslayer doesn't even have enough money to drop down another Nexus so that he can mine off of this third. That's how desperate he is to get up units. Seeing this unit composition, I expect Shadowslayer is going to lose his entire army in this engagement. As soon as the Broodlords make it into position to throw down some Broodlings, everything's going to melt away very, very quickly. It was the 23-minute mark, right, for that Nexus. Really good game out of Shadowslayer, taking this to the very late game tech, getting those Colossi out. It's the anti-air that just killed him. He allowed those Corruptors to get out and didn't have the Stalkers in place to defend his Colossus. I think he would have still been in this game, though, if he had managed to keep that Nexus up. He has a really good unit composition. He's got plenty of DTs working on these roaches, but even with that, as soon as these infestors get enough energy for a fungal growth, he's going to be able to take them down. And DTs can't really shoot up. They aren't going to be able to take down any other Broodlords or anything like that. I think it's just waiting for detection to show up. One Overseer being warped in. Three of them joining up. All of a sudden, all the DTs are down. 31 to 192 supply. Don't worry, Protoss has got this. GG from Shadowslayer. Really good game, guys. Really good game. Let's go back to the 23-minute mark. 22, 24. Fantastic. All right, I'll just ×3 it. You can do ×3 whenever you're a pro like me. Another Zergling run by. Okay, so this guy was already weakened from that first battle. This is that first engagement that we were paying attention to. We can see on the mini map that the engagement's still going on down almost at the third. I think it happened at the same time. So these zealots were warped in. Proton cannons were doing their thing, and it was 2 Zerglings on the south side just doing barely enough damage. 1 zealot was in position. If these zealots had moved down to deny that, that would have been it. How close was that? That's ridiculous. So yeah, here's the 2. I didn't even notice them because they're mixed in with the probes, but 60 supply. 1 zealot's just standing there by himself, finally aggroed over. Oh, it's so freaking close. Really good game, guys. I'm looking forward to the next tier where DarrenC moves on. Shadowslayer dropped down to the loser bracket. He's not out of the tourney just yet, and neither am I. So I'll be casting these if you guys can send them as they come. If you guys have a game you want me to cast, you can PM me here or on Reddit. I am Ibigandscary. I'll see you guys later.